In this video, we're going to talk about Hawkeye and specifically the networked KPI family of tests. So KPI being key performance indicators, or more of the common metrics that let you know the general health status of your network and their ability to support some of the applications you may be looking to run across. So first thing we need to do, log into the Hawkeye. So we'll do that. Then we need to go down here to test execution. And from there, we're going to select node to node. And that will pop up a whole new window. And at that point, we can choose the endpoints that we are going to involve in this test. So I can choose this endpoint, and you'll see here a default. And what that does is it allows me to choose an IP address for my multi-home devices. Maybe it's wired versus wireless, or a VM that's on multiple VLANs. So you want to be specific about which part of the network you want to test. I'm going to leave mine at default, same with the other side. And now I'm going to run the test between these two endpoints. So with the basic network KPI test, I'm going to be able to choose the length of time I wish to run, 30 seconds, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, something like that. How often I want to run the test. 0 means run it one time. Or you can schedule it to run every 15 minutes, every hour, whatever's comfortable depending on the type of test and the information you're interested in. DSCP settings. So if you run DSCP on your network, or class of service settings, you can make sure that you're running your test with the same level that your application traffic would have. And then a start schedule and an end schedule. If you leave the end open, it runs until you come in and tell it to stop. So that's sort of nice just to keep going and going. There are multiple kinds of network KPI tests. Let's scroll down and take a look. There's the 3 COS. So you can set 3 different classes of service and validate whether there is a difference between those across your network. If you're implementing COS, you should expect to see different from best effort versus prioritized traffic. So you can validate that you are getting what you set on your network. The advanced KPI allows you to not only set duration, but to set size of bytes and bitrate. So maybe you run a lot of voice, low size packet application traffic. So you want to set them smaller, and maybe you want to set them to a higher stream because you have multiple calls going at a time, and you want to know what that's like. That's where you would use this test. We also have the bidirectional. Now, you can run a from to and then switch your endpoints and run from to again, which is what I often do because I like to keep each one separate, because there are a lot of asynchronous traffic problems that could be caused, and I don't want to fail my whole test or get bad trends or baselines because one side's having problems and the other isn't. But if you wanted to know what it's like in both directions with a quick glance, then this is the test for you. You set it bidirectionally, it'll run one set one way, one set the other way, and give you a combined set of information. And then, of course, we have the low bandwidth. And what this does is allows you to run these tests specifically over a lower bandwidth environment. Maybe you've got a remote site with a smaller connection. Maybe you're running it over VPN, especially these days when you have end users who are connecting from home networks that may not have the bandwidth you're used to from site to site. You could run this endpoint off of their machine and validate that it's working as expected in their environments. So once you've chosen your network KPI test that you're running, you then get to set thresholds. And for a lot of people, that seems scary because I don't know what it should be. Well, and that's definitely a legitimate concern, because we're going to start with some defaults here. But is a 100 millisecond delay actually bad, or is that good for your environment? Depends on distance, depends on all kinds of things that are in the middle. But with all of these, the out of order, the loss, the jitter, MOS, and if you're not familiar with MOS, really that's just an operating score that tells you what your user experience should be. Higher is good, lower is bad. So we've set one here, but what we can do is we can check this button, and now we're going to auto-learn the thresholds. And as we keep running these tests, we're going to start to put together what we see as the most common, and we're going to build a channel. And in that channel will be your scores, and we're going to help dial in a threshold for you so that you don't have to worry that you're setting it too high or too low, dealing with false positives, things like that. You can set a tolerance, so if you want it to be extremely sensitive, we can get all the way up to, hey, we're only going to take 90% of the readings, or we can go the other side and say, I'm going to take 99.99% of the readings and build the channel this wide, and that's where I'm going to fit in my thresholds. So flexible, and we'd certainly help you set this up if you want to give us a call. The other option to enable is the outliers. Now, what happens is typically when you set up a monitoring environment and it's test-based and you've got thresholds, as soon as something exceeds a threshold, the alerts go out. Everybody gets emails, everybody gets all hands on deck, and you start running around trying to solve a problem. But that problem may not exist. What may be going on is maybe it was a one-time, especially with home users, with internet, things like that, Wi-Fi, where you often have a quick blip in the network and everything goes back to normal. So what we've done is we've set up these outliers, which allow you to say, within a certain time frame, I'm willing to accept a certain percentage of failed tests. So maybe it's 10% an hour. I run this test every 5 minutes, and if some number of them fail, don't alert me, because I don't need to know that just one test failed. I need to know when there's a pattern of failed tests, because then I know I have a problem. So with all that said, what we've done now is we've built a network KPI test from one endpoint to another, and we're now going to be measuring thresholds as we go, so you don't have to worry about false positives. We're going to be sending outliers so that we don't get alerts when we're not supposed to. And from there, you're going to start to see data about the KPI for your network.